Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name's Tracy. In today's video, we're going to be working with some This Calls for Confetti and On the Vine. Let's go ahead and go. And here's a sort of moving still photo of the finished card that I did today using the honeysuckle vine from This Calls for Confetti. So I'm glad you're here, and I just wanted to show you what was sent to us. This is all from Alice's story, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But this is Alice's confetti mix is beautiful. I love the yellows. And then we've got the honeysuckle on the vine with the sentiment sweet as thank you on the vine, Mother's Day, birthday, and happy. And it's got a little jug or a vase or something like that. And on the back is Alice's story, and she talks about all of the things about her mother. And I just think it's really, really sweet. And she was inspired by her mother to create this set. And funny thing is that it talks about honeysuckle and gosh, growing up, me and my cousins and friends would all go find the honeysuckle vines and pick the honeysuckles off and flip them around and suck the sweetness out of the back of them. So there is a coordinating die set that cuts out everything. And then there is this really cool sort of it's a background die. So it's a complete cover plate. And then she sent me another of these happy, and there's little issues picking it up, but there we go. So anyway, what I'm doing here is I'm going to start by basically just splattering onto a piece of white cardstock with green and yellow. So the effect I'm trying to get is kind of like where this background piece is going to be like a fence almost, like a fancy fence. And so that's going to go up against some yellow cardstock. And I'm just going to tape it down here so that I can place my flowers later, because I want to make a really full vine. If you've ever seen honeysuckle, it's not ever sparse. There's a ton of it. So I'm using my zig markers. And I'm just going in with the darkest yellow and then a lighter yellow and leaving the outsides white. And I'll just color, these couple of things on camera, and the rest I'll color off camera because there's a bunch of them. So, it's accent opaque paper, so it tends to really suck up the green. So I keep both green pens in my hand, the light and the dark, and flip them so that I can quickly blend this out. Because if you wait, it'll soak into the paper and it won't blend out. So there's that tip if you're going to be using an accent opaque or a very thirsty paper and watercolor pens. So you see, I'm just kind of flipping the pens around in my hand here. Little magic tricks, right? So I can get just a little bit of dimension on those leaves and flowers. But mostly the leaves. The flowers kind of give the dimension all on their own. They're kind of that little artsy drawing type flower. Well, let me know in the comments below if you've ever tasted honeysuckle. So here I've got a whole bunch of flowers and a whole bunch of leaves, and I'm just going to be weaving them in and out of this little kind of lattice piece, this fancy lattice piece, until my page is basically full. Just like the honeysuckle that's growing on my back fence. You can't even see my fence. It is loaded with it. I almost brought some in as a prop, but bees also like it, and I'm a little scared of bees, so it'd be cool to have a bee on here, but I did want to stick with their products. So there, I'm kind of happy with my placement, and I'm just going to tack some down to kind of where I want them. So I'm not completely gluing them, just tacking, so they don't move on me when I go to glue them from the back. I want to make sure nothing's sticking out outside of that frame because it is a full A2 frame. You could make this into a shaker if you wanted. I'm making kind of a fake shaker, so I'm going to be using a lot from that Alice's Mix confetti to kind of decorate this, which is the same reason why I did the green and yellow splatters, because like I said, honeysuckle is very full on the vine. So now I've got it kind of where I want. I'm just going to trim off any excess. and glue down any other little pieces that need to be glued down on the top, just to make sure that they don't come up, when the person takes it out of the envelope or something like that. And because they do have a white border around them, it really doesn't, it looks like they're part of the design. Just add a little bit more glue here. So I encourage you to check out This Calls for Confetti. Not only do they have stamps and dies, but they have a wonderful array of confetti mixes and clay bits and just all kinds of good stuff. All right, so I'm getting my other piece ready to glue down, but first I want to come from behind and just make sure that everything's tacked down that needs to be tacked down, and then I'm going to pop it up. And I won't waste your time the whole time showing how I pop those pieces up, because there's a lot, but I'm using these strips, and there I've got them all on here. I want to make sure I don't have any strips over the sort of little hole or little openings there. And then I'm adding some liquid glue so I can make sure I get it down onto this yellow piece straight. And I'll pick it up and I'll just kind of lay this down and then lay the design right on top of it. There we go. And then I'll just trim off the excess there, because it happens, Paper isn't always cut straight, but no big deal to trim it off. Okay, now we need to do our sentiment. And I'm going to be using the Sweet as Honeysuckle on the Vine. I'm going to go ahead and put this down onto a card base now, so I'm just using a regular white card base. And I'm going to do it from the upside down, so if I need to trim any off, I'm not worried about the top. I'm going to make sure the top's nice and even. I'm just using some art glitter glue, I believe, in that little container. Just get that glued down. And it has some wiggle room so that I can move it around how I need it. And there we've got the card on the card base. And anything that needs to be trimmed off, I can trim off now. Very carefully with my scissors, because I've been known to accidentally cut into my pretty part. I don't know how that happens, but it happens. All right, let's get some of that sticky off these. These are non-stick scissors, but see where I just now cut into it? You can't really tell in the end, but that's what happens to me sometimes when I'm cutting things down with scissors. All right, let's go ahead and get started on that sentiment. So I stamped the honeysuckle, the word honeysuckle, with black ink onto kind of a yellow ombre card. I colored it in basically, and it's watercolor, so it's a thick. And then I'm going to do several layers of the honeysuckle so that it pops up. So I've got 3 layers of plain white 110 pound or 120 pound accent opaque, so this is going to pop up quite a bit. And then I'm just going to kind of stack them all together and pick them up with my tweezers and make sure they're all nice and even. That's ready to go, and that's going to get lost on there, so we are going to definitely need to add something so that it's, stands out a little bit more. So I'm going to put it on vellum. So I'm going to take one of these happy dies, and I'm going to kind of pick one up that looks like it's going to fit. And they're kind of stuck to the paper. You know how that goes. And I'm going to cut that out of vellum. And that way I can put my goodies on the vellum directly and then put the vellum on. And so there's going to be a little bit of a barrier so it doesn't seem so busy. So we'll do the sweet as, and I'm not going to pop those up. I'm going to lay those flat down because I want the honeysuckle word to be the prominent. And then I cut out a little heart from the set and colored it yellow so it kind of matches, and it's yellow, and I like yellow. And then this way too I can use glue just on all the areas where I have taped my sentiments or glued my sentiments. and the little heart and so on. So we've got a nice firm grip. And there, now we've kind of got it so it's not so, doesn't get so lost in the back. Let's make sure I've got it straight here and make sure I like the placement. I tend to step back sometimes. And now I'm going to pour out this confetti into a little tray, and I'm just going to start gluing confetti on. And I'm just putting it random, but I'm putting it everywhere. I want to make sure that I've got a lot on there, so it would appear almost like a shaker, but again, like a very full, bushy situation without it being completely all the die cuts. So I'll put some on the little decorative, I guess lattice, you could call it that. And just moving it around, and sometimes I'm trying to get the bigger pieces, so I end up dumping these out onto a white piece of paper, just so that I can spread them out a little bit more and make it easier to grab what I want. We'll put some here on the vellum. Okay, a couple more. See, I keep grabbing more than one, and so to save time, I'm just going to pour it all out on a piece of paper. It'll be a lot easier to pour back into the package too. I'm just adding quite a lot. Yeah, see, I'm happy with that. It's nice and shiny and pretty. It's got all that yellow and it's got some green. So now I'm going to come in with some stickles. And just for more bling, I'm going to add just a little bit of bling in the deepest yellow part of the flowers. And you just want to make sure when you set this aside, you set it where you're not going to touch it until that stickles dries. So that's just going to add a little bit more sparkle and shine, a little bit more intensity to around the flowers. And then I'll use my green stickles around the base of the flowers. I'm not going to stickle the leaves or anything, just the flowers. I just want to accentuate the honeysuckle part. And that's the sweet part, by the way, if you've never tried it. Look, when we were kids, I grew up in the 60s, you weren't worried about dirt or anything else. You just grab that thing off the vine or walk down the street and grab blackberries off of somebody's bush and eat them without washing them, just living carefree. These days, I'd be afraid to do that. But there's my finished card, and I hope you like it. Thanks so much for joining my video and checking out This Calls for Confetti. Give me a thumbs up. Take care. Bye-bye.